Hello everyone and welcome to another video. In this video I'll be discussing a popular psychology myth about brain power. So the myth I'm talking about is the myth where people believe that the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of our brain do different things exclusively. So you've probably all heard this in popular culture at some point where the right brain is the creative side, it is the holistic side, it is the emotional side, etc., etc., and the left side is the logical, analytical, accountant side of your brain. And while there are slight differences in how each half of your brain performs, they're more similar than they are different. All you have to do is Google right and left brain, and you will see image after image after image of this kind of crap. So, the word is dichotomania, and people love their dichotomies. They're bite-sized, they're easy to remember, they're easy to repeat, and it feeds into the other myths in psychology, such as you're only using 10% of your brain, which kind of dovetails with the idea that if people try, they'll get further. But that's a separate issue. We're sticking with the left-right-hand brain myth right now. So this myth does originate from a kernel of truth, and that kernel of truth is during very specific instances, in cases where people have severe seizures, doctors have gone into patients' brains and severed the corpus callosum, which is basically the wire that connects the right and left hemisphere. So when the researcher blocks your right eye, your left hemisphere, the part that's vocal, won't be able to determine what's funny and convey that to the speaker, because your brain actively works together, both hemispheres work together to process information. The point of this study is that in brains that are normal, that don't have that vital connection severed, each hemisphere does slightly different things for similar tasks. And while it's true that the right hemisphere is better at spatial reasoning and the left hemisphere is better at verbal reasoning, even when your brain is performing a task with verbal reasoning, the left side of your brain is better at the specifics of speech, while the right side of your brain is better at emphasizing certain points in speech. So to say that the left and right brain both serve separate functions entirely and exclusively is just flat out wrong. All one has to do to see why this myth has pervaded our culture for so long, one just has to look at the amount of copies that books talking about these concepts, how many of those have sold. 2.5 million in a book discussing how to best utilize the right side of your brain more in business were sold. In addition to this, there have been public campaigns grounded around the notion that our education system focuses too much on left-hand brain activities. Which is, if you know the truth behind how the brain actually works, is completely nonsensical. Maybe if we lived in a world where the corpus callosum didn't exist, that might hold some water, but even then I don't see that really applying. Because in patients with the corpus callosum severed, if they did not have either eye covered, they could still discern what was going on. It would just take their brain a longer amount of time to sync up with each side. The brain is very malleable in that it can adapt to damage up to a pretty fair extent. For example, if someone loses their cerebellum early in life, their brain will adapt to that and will be able to take over functions that the cerebellum had initially, such as motor control and other cerebellum-controlled activities. So if you see a web article from BuzzFeed or something talking about how a certain program can utilize one side of your brain more than the other, it's time to exit out of that tab and perhaps open it up to something that isn't full of pseudoscience. Always be skeptical, folks. Ciao. Hey everyone, please feel free to check out the Culture Core podcast, airing at around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. We'll be talking about events that have happened over the past month worldwide and in the United States, and we might have some other fun topics to talk about. We'll also be having a special guest, Nate Talks to You, join on the show. So if you're interested in listening to some good conversation about current events and other things, feel free to tune in. Thanks for watching. See you later.